doing. A blind hacker with a pig. Dun, 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 dun. It's a murder mystery, guys. See if you can figure it out. While I see if I can figure out what I'm doing here. There we go. Pop it that way around. And then make it bigger. Save me squinting. Are you ready? Let's go. 2 a.m. Emerald earrings. Warm liquid seeped through JR's fingers and dripped onto the blade. Her veins were electrified with pain. The freezing wind whipped through her dyed hair and burrowed into her bones. Her contacts were frozen. She was flirting with danger every time she blinked. The gatehouse came into focus. She gulped back her fear. A flurry of colours flashed over a frightened face. Midori shuddered and tumbled away from her. The knife slipped out of her hands and landed between them. She stumbled back against the turret, fingernails clawing into the cold stone. The floor was moving. A carpet of red crept over grey. She followed the trail of crimson past the twisted metal of a grotesque statue to its sword. Her eyes darted back to the lifeless eyes hovering between. She squinted. The corpse was not floating. It was impaled. Dry blood coated its face. Reaper. Accident. He crawled towards her and spluttered, blue eyes fraught with pain. Why did you stab me? You maniac! Papa! Her sister's haunting screams echoed around the darkness below. Her voice faltered as her mind drew a blank. Arguing. You pushed him. His eyebrow twitched, petite frame and delicate features twisting under the strain of his contempt. The nightgown fluttered around in the wind. I was asleep. She glanced down at her outfit, fluffy coat and slippers, her only defense against the sprinkling of snowflakes. Sleepwalking as a novel excuse for a murder, he snarled. But his sparse, fluffy hair made him look like an angry kitten. His fingers looped around her choker and tugged. Her eyes darted around as she desperately searched for the knife, but his image was smothering her. Warm breath flitted across her face, piercing eyes studying every inch of him. Her tingles spread across her cheeks. She bit them. A bitter taste trickled down her throat. Be careful what binds. He nuzzled into her neck, using his teeth to pull her tether before spitting it out. Doesn't suffocate. Why are you here, kitty cat? Me? She stumbled back and brushed her fingertips against her face. Her bandages had been removed. Why are you? Sage, you and my sister are... It had been a decade since she had last seen her sister. She trembled. Awful memories bombarded her. It was like lightning bolts were slamming into her heart. No. He dug his fingers into his wound and turned towards the approaching figure. She attacked me. The hell I did. Sage devoured the space between them like she was floating on air. Grey eyes hidden behind short black hair. Code. Location. Her head swiveled between them like an owl. He tilted his head back and laughed. The scowl ruined her beautiful features. Why ask? You don't understand the answer. That's for the sheriff to decide. Her fingers hovered over her phone, eyes darting to the side like she was trying to conjure up the code from thin air. Tell me, or you'll both be arrested. Is that all you care about? JR spluttered and shoved her injured hands into her sister's face. Was wise once. Born, I laughed. Your feral sister stabbed me. I look like the victim here. Except for one detail. Sage pressed the button, then paused. I'm meant to be here. Even that hideous thing over there is. Why ask for the answer when you don't listen to it? Clear liquid dribbled down JR's throat. She resisted the urge to sniffle. Her appearance was altered to avoid detection, but it had intensified her resentment. What her sisters naturally had, she fought for. It magnified their taunting. At any moment, they could tear the insecurities out of her chest and shove them down her throat. But you, Sage's lips curled into a wicked grin as she side-eyed JR, don't belong here. You got me. He raised his hands and allowed his wound to bleed profusely. In more ways than one. They'll take pity on me. What's this? Her sister turned her back on them. Can't see through you. The paper bounced off JR's face and landed in the snow. Midori held up the cards and whined. Why am I not flapping? 'Cause you do enough of that already. Her sister slapped him with her left hand. Orangutan jelly rancid. Accurate. Is this the code? It's their death order, JR mumbled. Let me finish. Around in the wind, in cartoon form. There. Not the precious code. It means AJ's third wife Katana. Douglas, duh, Sage snorted. I know my own family history. He went berserk. What's Ice's Halfing's last name? I'm not a Pierce, you moron. Wasn't talking to you. He stared at JR. But they're good looking if you stand a long way back in the dark while squinting a little. She flicked her head up to mask her concern and shuffled back. You think I'm related to that? Never seen your ugly mug. Sage frowned when JR did not react, without layers of makeup, mummified or plastic. As JR attempted to sprint away, her feet skidded over the wet stone. The momentum carried her into the spiral staircase. Lavender wafted into her nostrils. Her slipper awkwardly curled over something on the step. She felt herself fall forward. Heart in her chest, she instinctively protected her head. Pain smashed into every inch of her body as she tumbled the rest of the way. Frozen poo cushioned her fall. A surge of acidic goop crept up her throat. She gulped it back and scurried to her feet. She burst through the door and straight into the thick snow. Pierce had moved her into place like a pawn. His power was chilling. Years ago, he stole the town from Kenix, placed his farm at the top, then bent the existing structures to his will. He had warped her hometown into his initial. Bright lights brought her out of her ruminations. A high-pitched creak slid towards her ears. The hinges of the front door had a distinctive sound. A whoosh of air fluttered through her hair. The door was inches away from her nose. It seemed to bend towards her will, like it feared hitting her. Anger gripped her jaw and refused to let go. Pierce was so close, she could feel his nose hairs brush against hers. The intense stare was unavoidable, piercing eyes devouring her until there was nothing left. Her stomach churned. He expected her to submit, like everyone else did, but she refused to move. There was a flash of red and blonde by the kitchen window. No surgeon can fix your personality. The snide voice trailed off. JR wanted to kick Pierce's fake moustache up his ugly nose. His minions had invaded her sanctuary, murdered Douglas, and worst of all, potentially stolen the diamonds. Uncle Willie, what you doing here? Dora yanked her green earrings. Short hair and blood framing her perpetually gloomy face. His unblinking eyes were wild pits of unbridled rage. Eek! She shrunk into herself, melting under the strain of his presence. I thought your insignificant brother isn't you? His hand relaxed around his cane, baggy skin closing like a curtain. Something heavy was pinning JR down. Ears ringing, eyes burning, blood soaking through her flimsy nightgown. Her shoulders shuddered. A storm of emotions welled up within her throat and suffocated her. Grit coated her teeth and tongue. She attempted to spit it out, but the texture felt like it was embedded there. A thick film of dirt blinded her. She rubbed her eyes. Her hearing was fading in and out. Turbulent emotions bubbled within her, fluctuating between a gurgling trickle and a raging torrent. Pierce rose from the dust cloud like a mythical creature, untouched by the chaos surrounding him. Within the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the flames. She tried to follow, but something latched onto her arm and yanked her in the opposite direction. "No, Kennex, we're done!" She clawed at Nico's face. The ground shook as a pillar landed inches away from her toes. Why? Don't make decisions when you're a mess. Don't do this to yourself. His gorgeous eyes widened in fear. Flames shimmered in his pale irises. Tears divided the dirt on his chubby cheeks. Suddenly she saw through him. He adored the monster that controlled her, ruined her. Her fingertips traced the damage under her nightie. The liposuction had left her with horrific scars and skin that had shrunken in on itself. It was like her stomach had become a cannibal, creating bumpy ridges between the saggy caves of nothingness. Giving Pierce everything was... Mama tried for years to... She won't love me if... Please. A love is this. He frantically kissed the pocket watch she bought him. It'll never break. Be rational. Love. No one here is capable of it. Smoke burnt her eyes. Tears trickled down her chin, but the irritation remained like the castle wall was embedded there. You need me. Don't push me away, Honey Muffle. He cradled her arm. Handsome face corrupted by his desire to protect Pierce. His feet hit a metal plate. She tried to grab him. He twisted her outstretched arm back on itself. She refused to make a sound. Suddenly she was weightless. It felt like someone was trying to yank her organs through her brain. Her hair flew around her face, arms frantically reaching out. She tried to stop her descent, fingernails snapping under the strain. Her shrieks echoed back on herself as everything she worked so hard for crumbled into dust. That's the end of the first chapter. I'm nervous now. Hopefully I'll do another chapter soon. Bye everyone. Thanks for all your nice comments.